Hi everyone. So I am going to backtest the NAS for this one with the market profile that I'm studying. I did the US 30 or the Dow Jones on a couple of videos. So I'm not going to go too in depth on each values, kind of what it is I'm looking for, what the colors and stuff are. I'm going to already assume that that's already either you're aware of, but this is also for like my personal use as well that I want to study. So this is currently with price moving at the moment. We're going to look at the previous day. So it looks like on the 14th, 13th, and 14th, there wasn't really too much of a movement that's happening, but we definitely have an excess here. And we also have a poor low that this particular area right here kind of decided to form. We do have a POC from this particular market profile. I'm wondering if, so right now, price at the moment is kind of hovering around the September 13th excess level. If it's going to go here, and if it does decide to break out, there's a couple of levels that I do want to take a peek at, and my thing is being special. Level that I do want to take a peek at. It is actually this, which parallels the initial balance that we have. So if NAS does decide to basically go up, we're going to want to see the price push past the initial balance high, which is also coinciding as well with the low right here, this previous low. I would love for it to move higher, retest it, and then aim for this initial, not the initial, the a single print that we have here that formed on the move this that formed on the 13th and the 12th and the 13th, and this was a pretty massive move that happened. And it is also within that area, right below it is the area value low as well, which is that blue horizontal line. And if price, which, and then it's kind of interesting too, because this was a POC from before, but since it's already been violated, it's probably not going to be really considered, valid because it's already been violated. But that is definitely something still to take into consideration, because this is a lot of heavy um, area I would probably say to pay attention to. This was also previous high as well. So price could, penetrate through this area, hit this spot right here. And if it does decide to kind of meander around here, it's probably going to consolidate a little bit, especially with it, the previous side being right here. But the next target's going to be the single print, this massive single print. It's definitely going to try to aim for it at some point or another. And then if it does, we're going to probably see it try to hit this POC that was still formed on the 12th or the 13th of September. And then as well, maybe possibly hit up this excess. And if we have a stronger, longer term play for this, and let's just say that I haven't looked at the higher time frames like the daily, weekly, and the monthly, but if there is more indication of a bullish move, I would love to see price push past this excess point that formed in the 12th and the 13th, move past it. If it does fill this single print, I would love to see a retest of either this level or probably this level, and then probably aim for this POC. This is a really old previous POC, because this, I don't think, Nas has been down, been around this area in a long time. But that's just kind of if price moves up to that area. But it looks like it's kind of pushing for it, so we'll have to kind of basically see if it decides to do that. But my biggest concern is just this value area high right here on the 13th and the 14th. Is it going to just kind of play around here in this area and decide to come down? And then if it does push down here, is it going to be aiming for this POC from that day as well? And then if it does, is that going to also try to push past this value area low? And if it does move a lot further down, if it breaks past this low of these candles right here. Now, this point, poor low right here might not be valid. Oh, actually, no, it isn't, because it has not formed. It didn't, reprint or anything like that, because this particular candlestick, these two candlesticks right here, has already violated that poor level low. But if it did, if Nas does decide to come down, it's probably going to hit and try to get this value area here. It could have been a high, could have been a low. We're not sure, because I think this is further down. So we're going to take a look at this massive move that happened on the 12th and the 13th. I'm going to put it right here. Hopefully I can get access to that. There's like a weird, you guys can't see it, but it's like this weird, actually I'm going to move that little thing out so I can have more space. Okay. Yeah, like that. Actually, hold on. There you go. Much better. All right. So this massive, gigantic move that happened is actually interesting. I'm not going to go too much in detail to it, because there is a lot of levels. So I guess in a way you could have traded. There's two ways you probably could have traded this. Not, let's just say, not even knowing what exactly happened. You could have basically looked at this initial balance that's right here. So I guess the more that I've studied this, there are places or people or whatnot that trade it as support and resistance. So depending on if you study like candlestick patterns or whatnot, I guess you could have waited until it got the formation that you needed. You went for a high, aimed probably for this entry, a single print right here, entered here, and then probably exited out for this. Or you could have aimed for whatever value this is, value area level that is. And then if it was going against your way, it would have been a big deal, because, I mean, clearly it wasn't such a massive loss. Same concept. If you just kind of like waited it out, maybe you didn't make as much money, but you noticed that price was going down, you could have definitely shorted that on that initial balance low that happened right here as well. And then, if you had wanted to, you could have waited as well for further confirmation for these two lows right here, right? You've got this area that's low and this area that's the lows of these candles. But there was also a previous value high that formed right here. You could have waited if you wanted to for that price to push down. And I believe that was like what, 12.723-ish maybe price level. But you could have gone for that as well, just depending on how you went about it. But if it did go further and you did saw this massive move, you probably would have been like, all right, I'm just going to keep aiming for these areas right here. We've got a single print. I'm going to keep aiming for these areas. And maybe you could have just wrote it down, because this is a lot of levels that are right here. We even have, excess here. We got some values here, POCs. These are like three POCs. I'm sorry, four POCs, previous POCs from, maybe like a couple of days ago, weeks ago, who knows exactly. So that's kind of like an interesting move as well. So this is relatively similar to how US 30 or Dow Jones is for the most part, as far as some of the stuff that it, like the movements with the price, like the trending and stuff. So it might seem like, it's a little similar, but it's still just good to kind of pay attention and study other assets, just to make sure you guys have an idea of how to use the market profile. So we're going to take a look at this one, which is the 11th and the 12th of September. Not a significant amount of movement, but what we will notice, though, is that there's a single print that we have here, and some value level right here that's actually right by the POC that eventually formed for that day. Another cool thing is we also saw a poor level high, and as we have discussed before, and this is actually right around 12,600. So that's like a big figure, a rounded big figure number that I would have definitely been paying attention to as well. And as you guys will see, price went around within this area and then pushed past it, and then it actually pushed past the single print that we have noticed here as well. And did I bring up the single print that's here for this previous one? If I didn't, it's right there for you guys. I'm hoping I get every bit that I noticed. And I guess if you wanted to trade this, just seeing what we saw, and let's say like you weren't sure exactly where to enter here, or you missed out on it. uh, Back to the same concept, you could have used initial balance right here, gone for that buy, and you could have actually aimed for this initial balance. Or I'm not sorry, not initial balance. This is the single print. You could have aimed for that single print, or this level, value area level. But then again, you would have waited for how many hours for this thing to actually play out to hit the levels that you're looking for. So it just depends. It's all kind of hindsight. It's all kind of like bias. We aren't really sure until it actually happens. So we're going to take a look at this one as well. So we clearly have some sort of excess here. There's two of them that happened. So I guess one of the things that we could, and I've noticed that when it is trending, there are a lot of opportunities where you could use these highs and lows of the market profile. For example, like this one, this is that high. So we do have an excess here. So excess or not, or even if it's like a poor high or low, we still could have taken this opportunity of using that previous market profile day's opportunity for a buy. So, and we did notice that there is the initial balances right here. You could have entered right here. That would have been great too. And then aim for the excess levels that are right here. If you wanted to as well, and it always also depends basically on, I guess, your the times that you want to trade. So let's say 9:30. Did I hit this? I did not. Come on. So let's say 9:30, for example, if we're going to use it with the ADD. So 9:30 is right around here. We could have waited right around this area, and this is awesome because this is where the where is it? 9:30. Yeah. This is the level of the excess level, a previous one. There's two of them, so this is perfect opportunity to be like, all right, I'm noticing that the ADD is forming around that 12. I'm sorry, 2000. So there, it seems like there's a high probability of it going for a higher up. You could have gone for that buy and then went up. And if you were still relatively pretty nervous about it, you could have, if you were that confident with whatever other strategies and skills that you have, not including ADD, you could have waited for this value high right here and gone up. Or you still could have waited for also this part right here, which is another excess level from previous days ago. So it all just kind of depends on how you approach it, other strategies that you have, other confirmations that you have as well. So we're going to take a peek at this market profile on the 8th, 7th, and on the 8th. So on the 7th, a couple of things here. We have this level of single print. We have also the poor high that is pretty close to the value area high as well for this market profile that we're taking a look at. We are also I'm probably not going to take this POC into consideration. It's already been validated, but the fact that it is within this area of the POC and the single print is kind of interesting in its own merit. So, depending on how this would have gone, this would have been challenging in a sense of, looking at it hindsight. You could have done two things. And it's kind of difficult in this aspect because when this is all forming, you don't really know exactly what's happening. But the biggest thing that we will see for the most part is that there's going to be the single print. So you could have waited for the low for this to push through and aim probably for this, or even aim for a this previous value high on the 6th of September. But you guys will see that it didn't really hit it or anything. It was just kind of right there at that end. It's okay. Sometimes you hit it, sometimes you don't. What I did notice is that sometimes it really it'll go to these area highs and lows. But the biggest thing is pay attention to these round numbers, like the 12,120 right there. That's that level. I don't know if you guys can see it, but that's that level right there. That's that low, and that's why sometimes these area highs and lows, they don't get hit, but they do love these round numbers. These prices love the round numbers, big figures, that kind of thing. So definitely probably aim for something like that. Okay, so that's for that. I don't think I missed anything else in that aspect. So we'll take a look at this area as well in the market profile. We're looking at the 6th and the 7th. So this one has a lot happening to it in the sense of we have a POC here, multiple POCs from previous days, but we're going to take a look at the most recent one. But the usually the ones that have been around, I guess you could say, like this one seems and appears like it's been like a longer previous POC. So sometimes you'll definitely see a reaction with price going that way. So previous day, we're going to take a look at this one, and it has we have the excess here on the 5th, and we'll notice that that would be something we would have definitely aimed for. POC as well is in this area for that day as well. We will also take a look at the fact that we do have the, well, I'm not sure if I should take the initial balance into consideration for this one, but it is a little coincidental that the initial balance low is on the value high, but for the market profile that we're looking at, which is the 6th and the 7th. But I'm not necessarily sure if I would have seen this currently as it was forming. Like, I'm not sure if that would have been something that would have appeared at that time, because we always want to look at the previous days. We don't really know what's happening, particularly for this day, when this is, basically forming. For all we know, is just all down here, and then it's not doing anything up here. So what we would have been looking at for the most part would have been that POC for that day, for from the 5th and on the 6th, and the success level that's up here. So if we were basically down here and we notice that there's really not a lot of other levels, but we have this POC excess and this other previous POC, we would have done the same thing to the other ones where we waited for an initial balance, look for the initial balance retest. So this would have been, I would probably say this probably would have been something I would have looked at. This would have been an entry. So this might have been a little bit uncomfortable depending on your risk management and position size. But at some point it did go up, which is awesome. You could aim for this POC. You could aim for the white bar right here, white horizontal bar, which is the excess, or the other previous POC as well. I probably would have aimed for this one, like I said, because of the fact that this POC has been around for a while. Nothing wrong with the most recent ones, but this would have been most ideal because price is trying to go back to some of these levels. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the market profile for the 5th and for the 6th, and this one's interesting because the previous market profile, it's definitely consolidating right around here, not much movement. So it would have been a little bit challenging, I think, in my opinion, to kind of figure out where to go. But the cool thing about it is there was a bigger movement on these other on this market profile to kind of help get a couple of levels to show up for us. So the previous POC on the 4th and on the 5th is right around this level right here. And it also has the value area that we have, the low. So I guess I would have waited for, so clearly there's a value level that's up here, that from another previous day. So I probably would have waited here to see if price was going to go up, and if it was going to retest, then I probably would have waited as well. But this is such a massive, wide initial balance that I would have been like, okay, well, what exactly is going on? I could have, without looking into the initial balance, I could have done it like in this manner where I would have waited for price to break this area, these previous lows from these candlesticks, and gone for a sell and aimed for this. I'm having a brain fart. This single print that's right here, and as you can see, price did hit that single print as well. And there is a very, very minor excess that's right here, and actually missed it because it's pretty tiny, and it just kind of blended right in with the background. So you could have aimed for that, or you could have aimed for the single print. Totally up to you. And let's say you missed it and you were like unsure this, back to the initial balance. You go to the initial balance for that retest. Wait for all of these these wicks right here. If it was showing you kind of these formations, like the exhaustion that's happening, it wasn't retesting this previous low, you could have gone for that sell. And you wanted to hold it long enough, you could have still gone for this low. And if you were looking at this as this was forming, you could have gone for the excess that's here from that previous market profile. If you basically got into it, later in the game around noon or something like that. So it depends on how you're looking at it yet again. And then of course we've got the ADD that's here that's forming as well to confirm that it's still going down. So let's take a look at this rather consolidated level of nothingness. I'm not even going to entertain it because it wasn't really much movement to it. Only thing is there is this previous level, but that was from before. I'm not really seeing anything that seems to pop out for the fourth and the fifth. I mean, I would have really hated to trade that, to be completely honest with you. Not much happening for that particular level. I'm wondering if that was like a Monday, like this was, if the first and the second, was that like a holiday? I feel like that was like a holiday. I feel like that's what it was. All right, so now we're gonna look at the first and the second of September. Let's see here. All right, what did the previous days do? So it looks like, oh, this is interesting. All right, so the first thing that we're going to notice, we've got previous values here, POC, another previous value here. We have a previous value right here, and that did not go there. Looks like, what is that? I don't know if that's an excess or not because it's kind of like it's dotted, so I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to act like I don't know because I'm not sure what, like it's I see something white, but I also don't. Oh, actually it is. Okay, cool. So it is. So it is an excess that went through. This wick did not penetrate it fully. That's pretty interesting. But if you look over here, this definitely got violated right there. Okay, so I guess for this particular trade, a lot of consolidation happening until it was 9:30, that release, and this candle formed, which was this massive short that had happened. You could have done two things depending on how you trade. You could have bought this move, the initial balance, traded going for that high, aim for these values right here, this high, whatever value this is. It could have been a high or a low, we don't really know, but it is a previous value. Could have aimed for a previous POC as well. And of course we don't know if this excess was forming at the time. I would just pretend like we didn't see that at all. And let's see, so that could have been another positive possible move for you as well. And then you could have taken your profits. And then if you notice that there's a bit of a consolidation and exhaustion with these candles, and then if you were like, you know what, I'm going to take a look at and see if price is going to go down this way, because we noticed there was a bit of an exhaustion. I'm going to mark this level, and if it breaks, then I'm going to get out of that position, or I'm going to short it. And then you could have aimed for this previous level as well, and then this POC as well. So that's kind of where it's a little challenging. And and in hindsight, and I'm just going to say this for shits and gigs, you could have aimed for, in the back of your head, you probably would have thought to have aimed for this excess right here, but you didn't know. But then you would end up having to hold this position for such a longer period of time. And, depending on how you entered it might not work out, that kind of thing. So I think maybe even just aiming for this wouldn't have been such a bad idea. But it just kind of, it just kind of depends. Like, back to it again, hindsight, you don't really know until it all unfolds for you. So did I miss anything for this one? I don't think I did. All right, let's go to the previous one. All right. So this one is a little lower. So we have an excess here from that previous day, which is a little bit higher. Excess here, some levels, and another level, and a very small excess that's right here as well. So seeing what we know or knowing what we see or whatnot, we do realize that there's an excess here. There's a definite push for it to go down. Depending on how you traded this, how you saw it, you could have waited. You could have waited to see if price was going to retest this low again, or you could have just waited and see what else was basically happening. I mean, it's kind of hard because okay, so we have the initial balance here and the initial balance right there. So I guess if price was still below the initial balance low for that, we probably, I think, would be a good play to have shorted this, which that's what happened. But I guess I still have to pay attention to the initial balances. I was kind of hesitant as far as how I was gonna really use the initial balance, but I think now that as I keep back testing and looking more at the charts, I think it looks like it's pretty helpful to determine some short positions. You could buy and short different positions and stuff like that. But for example, like this one, right? So we have this excess from before, and we know that that's going to happen. So we could have paid attention to the initial balance low, like these blue low levels that are circular. Um, and basically, well, the thing is, this already got filled though, so that wouldn't have mattered. See, that would have been a tricky one. But the fact that there's another initial excess balance here, excess level, I think it would have still been a pretty decent move to short it and aim for that. I would hope. And that's me not looking at any other, levels that I'm looking at as well, like in a higher time frame, because I'm sure there have been some that we probably would have marked. So let's take a peek at this one. Ooh, wow. Holy moly. Okay, so we have, for this one, we're looking at the 30th and the 31st. We have a previous POC that's right here. Appears to be a single print as well. And I believe it looks like we have a value level down here as well. So I guess we could have waited to see where price is if it was going to touch around this area. And because of this single print as well. So we could have waited to see if it was going to do anything. But that would have occurred later on. So I guess if we were looking for this price movement to have happened, we would have seen that price retested this value value low that's right here, went up and got into this a single print right here, went back down and retested this initial balance to go back up to retest that POC. So I guess with all of those particular movements, this would have been an interesting one. It actually would have, because there's also this single print that's right here that it could have aimed if it decided to go up. So that would have been something that if then situation, for example, if price moves past this previous POC, we could have aimed for this single print right here, but it didn't, and it decided to actually go down here and break. So this one, I guess, would have been a very interesting trade. I probably would have messed this one up. I'm not even gonna lie to you, because of how it was kind of forming, if that makes any sense. It just didn't seem clear to me, at least at the moment. That's kind of hard. That's kind of hard to really like try to trade and figure out, at least on my end, without doing anything else. This is me just kind of being objective. If I was looking at the ADD and I noticed it forming the way that it's forming, and it was going down, then I would have been comfortable with trying to basically short it at the initial balance low. But this is just looking at and understanding the market profile, because once you're doing everything, then you can kind of start getting confirmation with other indicators, with the ADD, or even if like we were to add the EMAs in there, we would have noticed, oh, look at that, this POC area is touching this area, which is my 200 EMA, which is this red line. I'm going to short it. I'm going to wait for all of my EMAs to go for a short position for all of it to start fanning, then I would have shorted it. So, this is just strictly looking at this and how price is touching each and every level, not looking at